Welcome, everybody. Welcome into our podcast number, what is this, 3 or 4 now? I think we're at 4. Podcast number 4. Today's guest is Shari Lynn. She is a shaman. Oh my God. I'm going to let you tell everybody what all your titles are because they are a long list. So Shari Lynn, say hi to everybody and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Shari Lynn, and I've never been a lover of labels.
Right.
But I have studied so many things in this lifetime and know that I've had many, many, many lifetimes and understand that we are all multi-dimensional beings. So, you know, things that I've engaged in over the years were really powerful. In 2005, I came across Barbara Handclaugh's work of the alchemy of the 9 dimensions, and that really changed everything with helping to put pieces of puzzles together. It gave me kind of, I already had a foundation, and I'll talk about that, but it like made it a lot easier to start to weave information together once how the dimensions actually work for us came to light. So I actually, you know, I grew up in Ashtabula, Ohio. I always say, people are like, where are you from? And I'm like, well, I'm from the Andromeda galaxy, but I landed in Ashtabula, Ohio, of all places. So I live right on Lake Erie, which is a very magical place in itself. And I was born in 1968. And my parents were like probably the last of the, you know, the blue collar families here in Ohio. And when I was 9, my parents divorced and my mother had started drinking. And I never want to put her in a bad light. It was horrible growing up and being a teenager with an alcoholic mother, but my mother was an angel and actually was the most mystical person and the biggest blessing I could have had to accelerate my own spiritual growth was my relationship with my mother. And so at 9, my parents divorced. I have a brother that's like 5 years older than me and never felt really close to anybody when I was growing up. And I never enjoyed school. So I wanted to learn about all of the things that they never taught us about in school. Loved astrology. I started to read about astrology when I was about 9 years old. My mother had all these books in the basement, and I would just dive into them. She was a psych nurse, RN psych nurse, and I loved psych. I would read all kinds of books about psych and was really rebellious and hated school. I had the worst time in school. I'm like, I don't want to know about this. I don't care about this. And with my mother drinking and getting into my like teen years, I just like totally rebelled. I wasn't interested in any of it. I did horrible in school. I would like fought with my father all the time. And I just kept moving forward with what it was that I felt that was of interest to me. And the whole time being rebellious, there was still this aspect of me that had a deep yearning for what was spiritual in my life. I wanted it so bad. And I was about 17 that I remember when my mom started to take me to the spiritualist church. And I kept going and wanting to know and understand what it was that they were talking about. And I would ask all these questions. Well, what does this mean? And I don't get it, you know? And my teacher, Richard Forfia at the time, and my mother would just look at me and he'd be like, keep coming back until you figure it out. You'll figure it out, you know? And one day it was like, you know, the clouds parted, the angels sang, and I started to understand what they were talking about. And I went to my mom and Richard, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and this means that, and this is that, and oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm like starting to get it. And they're like, they're like, she got it, you know? So I finally started to put those pieces of the puzzle together. And then I did get married at like 21. And very karmic relationship, because we'll talk about relationships too, and how, you know, all the relationships in my life had been karmic. And So I got married at 21, had my son at 22, very karmic relationship, toxic, sick dependency stuff with it. And by the time I left him, my son was, he was 2, no, almost 4. He was almost 4 years old when I left him. And I felt like I was doing an injustice to all of womankind by staying with him. But so I was about 25, and 24, 25 years old, and I kept going to the church. I'd left my husband and was going to the church. I was one of the most happiest people, like totally enjoyed having fun, and I was like dating, and I was studying to become a minister, and I studied for a solid like 3 years and then was ordained at 26. So I actually studied with a teacher, went to the classes, did the work, went to a lot of prayer circles, seance circles, whatever, seance means prayer, so it's not a negative thing. Saw all kinds of things. It was like very necessary for my spiritual growth. And one of the most powerful tools that I found at that time was the lessons in truth, the denials and affirmations. And I believe that affirmations can actually help to reprogram and condition our thinking to move us away from fear. One of the most, the most powerful for me was, there is no fear. For God is life, love, intelligence, omnipotence, omnipresent. And it's like you have to deny the existence of something that is not in alignment with your soul's growth, and then you affirm the truth of what that is. It's like, I am spirit, perfect, holy, harmonious. Nothing can make me hurt, sick, or afraid, for greater is he that is within me than he that is in the world. So when we use those tools, and it takes about 6 months to use the lessons in truth, denials, and affirmations, which I can get that information to people if they're interested in it, because and I always wanted to rewrite it. It's like very masculine in the nature. I believe in Father, Mother, God, but at the time when I was really learning my spirituality, it was, God the Father. I was definitely a Jesus girl, all about Jesus, and have had like lots of experiences in meditations and encounters where I actually feel that I met him, which progressed into something very cool later in my life. So when I started my spiritual journey and ended up being ordained, I felt like I was on a roll, and I made it a point to ask for what I wanted to know. And what I learned was, when you ask, you need to get out of the way and be ready to receive. So that's one of the things I think that would be important for us to talk about, because I think the message today would be that we all have to be responsible for our own well-being and our spiritual well-being, especially in a time when the planet needs it so much right now. We have to be responsible for being spiritual and feeling connected to all that is and each other, because that's not what we came here for. The experience was, well, I guess it's what we did come here for, but the experience of being in a human body means, this experience is all about you. So you forget about being being space dust, and now you have to realize that this is about you learning, relearning, and reteaching yourself that you are connected to everything and everyone.
Well, there's a lot of programming too. I mean, everybody comes from a different background, but mine was Christianity, and the programming is God first, others second, and yourself last. And so it gives you this programming of lack mentality, where if you prosper, or if you have things that other people don't have, then there's guilt and shame attached to it. And so for me personally, it's been a hard climb in the last 4 years to where I am today, because I always felt like, well, if I got a little bit of money, then I'm one of the evil ones. I'm one of the bad guys. I need to be giving it all away. And, you were the one that taught me that accepting money for my services was, actually an exchange of energy that was necessary in order for the I guess magic to happen, for everybody in the energy exchange to be able to benefit from it. I remember doing readings for what, $20?
Yep.
Well, and you
Yep.
couldn't shut me up. I'd read for like 2 hours.
Yep. And well, and
Yeah.
it's like, we gotta be able to give it away too, but then there's gotta be, you
There's gotta
gotta
be a
have
balance.
boundaries. To be spiritual doesn't mean that, you're not going to have boundaries. It just means that you're, doing it from a place that like serves all involved, not just yourself.
Right.
So it's like asking those questions. Does it serve me not to be able to, make it to events or to readings because I don't have money to put in the car to get there? So it's like just little things like that. It's like money. It's not my money. It's not your money. It's just the money. And it is a constant flow as long as you're not attached to it. I don't have attachments to it, and it seems to be there.
Right. Me too. Yeah. I mean, for the last 4 years, at least, it just seems like the less attention I give to it, the more it shows up.
Well, it was hard. I mean, you had to make decisions too to change your life, and it was like, we always have those questions. How am I going to do this? How am I going to survive? I need. We've got to get away from the dialogue, our dialogue of needing it. We don't need anything.
Right.
You walk out into nature, it's like you got squirrels, birds, anything you can lay your eyes on, they trust in creator, and we need to do that too.
Right.
And it's like, as long as we're in alignment in ourself and connected to the higher self, which never leaves us, it's always there. And when we can pull that, our own energy into that divine axis and know that, we're powerful, conscious creators, and that we have access to anything that we need to understand and know at the time. And, it cannot fail. We cannot fail when we're in that alignment. When we're making decisions from our heart, that's making decisions when you're not going to be emotionally involved with all of the outside, be it people, experiences, wherever we're at, because, like Tracie and I, we don't have jobs, it's like we created our own life, and I knew 100% that she could do it in the throes of a time when she was afraid. I did the same thing. I was afraid. What am I going to do? I had a store for 10 years, closed the store, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And, it's when we're at a point of, we have to make a change, you have to trusting in the universe is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. And knowing that, you are loved beyond measure and that you are going to be assisted and protected. Anything that I've ever asked for in prayer, it has come to me. Anything that I ask to see, I see it. And it can come through any other way. It can come through people. You never know. Answer the door. That could be an angel knocking at the door. You don't know.
Can I just say real quickly before I forget? So today is 12/12/2022.
Mm-hmm.
And when Shari Lynn started talking, we were 12 minutes in, because we talked a little bit before we hit the record button. We were at 12 minutes, 22 seconds on the video, and it was 12:22 here where Shari Lynn and I are at. So 12/12/2022 just seems to be like the whole theme that I noticed when we started this podcast today. So, I feel like that's divine also.
It's absolutely beautiful. And since you brought it up, I mean, the numbers for me, especially, I mean, I've always found it very entertaining, the 1111s and everything that you want to do, for yourself spiritually and for your bliss. And when you're growing in this manner and in this way, it's got to be entertaining.
Right.
You've got to be fascinated by it. And, in the last few years, the 12, 2/12, 11, 12, 22, my birthday is 2/12. My mother, her birthday was 2/11. My mother died on 11/12/2019. So she died exactly when the moon went full. Exactly. when the moon went full. And I just wanted to bring this up because it's so fascinating. I don't think we do this, and we should do this. You know, we take a birth date and we run a birth date, and we can chart our life through
Right.
our birth chart. But, you know, I ran my mom's birth chart to her death chart, and it was absolutely beautiful how the time that she died, she was so assisted. You could just see it. And it was beautiful how she was assisted to make her transition at that time. My father died the morning of his 80th birthday, 5 hours before the moon went full, and running his chart. And my father was very much a narcissist, and it's like, doesn't it just figure he'd die on his birthday when he turned 80? And you know, so it's just really fascinating to pay attention, like paying attention to the energies that are surrounding us all the time. And 22 is such a big deal. It's so great that we're doing this today. Even my fiance and I just we decided to open a store. So it's going to be called the Light Emporium. But when we looked at the bill, I found the building and I looked at it, I'm like, hey, you know, we've talked about this last year. I think we're ready. And I added up the numbers in the address, and it came to 22. And then actually had an appointment to talk to the landlord, the people that own the building on 10/22. So pretty much solidified that the building was ours, you know, for the store on the 22nd of October.
Well,
Right. So
I
it's like
went to the store to get some, you know, bits and pieces, and my total was 22.
Yeah.
Really, 22.
And it's like, you know, that's what they say, that you know, the whole Tesla thing about 3, 6, and 9, you know, being very high frequency numbers, but they never talk about 12, because 3, 6, 9, and 12 is a big deal. And it's interesting because my birthday is 2/12/68, and I'm an 11. I'm an 11 life path. I've got 11 in a couple of different. I never can remember what they are.
Well, I was born
Yeah.
7/11.
Right, 7/11. And you know, you're not my only friend with 7/11 birthday.
Right.
I actually have 2 other friends with that birthday
Is
too.
it Kathy?
Kathy, and then Katya, my friend Katya, same day. And she's a Hindu astrologer. Katya is, you know. So yeah, just it's really beautiful how we're coming together. And then I'm Aquarius, very Aquarian, with a Cancer moon. And I've got a 29-degree Cancer moon, which was very important for me to know what that actually meant for me in this lifetime, having a 29-degree Cancer moon. And it came to light what that actually meant as I was figuring it out. And it meant that I'm affected by all moon cycles. I need to pay very close attention to my emotions, and that all of my relationships are karmic. Because if you're at a 29 degrees, that's like a 0, you know.
It is. It's the very last degree before.
It is. And it's interesting
and
too.
It adds up to 11.
Yes. And then my brother, my biological brother in this lifetime, he also has he's a Pisces with a 29-degree Cancer moon. I did end up, because I wanted to mention that, I brought up the Cancer thing because, you know, Tracie is Cancer. I have a 29-degree Cancer moon, and I've got a lot of Cancers in my life. My son's a Cancer, a lot of water signs, and I kind of lack the water other than the Cancer in my chart. So it's really interesting when we start to have fun with that and look at our relationships with other people and how they may fit together even numerologically and astrologically. And it's another tool for us to, you know, get excited about our relationships and our own work being spiritual. You know,
Well,
how are we connected?
Somebody told me once, now I don't know if this resonates, but somebody told me once that when you're a Cancer or a Pisces, because I guess both are ruled by the moon, that you were born beneath a wandering star, And in your life journeys, you would wander a lot. And I've been all over the place. So I don't know if that's, just something somebody said, but it kind of hit home for me. I'm like, yeah, the moon is a wandering star. It changes its position. It goes through every house. Every 2.5 days, it changes position. So
Yep. And I
So,
mean, we have, the moon, women's cycles are to the moon, 28-day cycles. And it's been a tool for me throughout I keep saying throughout this lifetime. It's so funny because, I can't believe I'm the age I'm at now, because I never felt like I was ever going to grow up. But I studied with a group of women and did that for a solid 7 years, and then branched off and did more work with women. And with this woman's circle that I was in, we met every full moon, and really powerful experiences in that. I wouldn't change it for the world. And I feel like it was very powerful in understanding our own cycles and the way that we're communing with nature all the time, whether we pay attention to it or not. And the as above, so below is so present around us all the time, and we never even see it. And if we were to, pay more attention to astrology, and I don't mean like just the zodiac, I'm talking about the way that the planets actually move, it's a tool to help soften the way, because it's like now at this point in my life, I duck planets. It's like, oh, here they come.
I do too. So I just did a channeled message, and the funny thing is I don't know much about astrology at all. And I check in with a friend of mine who's an astrologer whenever things get a little intense for me. But I channel messages, and when I do automatic writing, they're always talking about the planets and the alignments, and it comes up in my channeled messages. And the last one was about, with Mars going retrograde in this full moon that we just experienced, that there would be a lot of aggression coming up into people. Even, it didn't matter if you were masculine or feminine, because we have both within us. But Spirit was talking about a lot of aggression or potential and because it's retrograde, it's over the past. What pissed you off in the past that's still in your body that you haven't really fully released or dealt with. And I thought, oh, I've got this one. I've done all my shadow work, No, 2 days after the moon, the full moon, I was sleeping, and I had a dream that I was being attacked. Well, I don't want to get into it, but I've had a few times in my life where I've been attacked, by masculines. And in my dream, I was fighting back. Well, my boyfriend Jim woke me up because I punched him in the head twice.
Oh, geez.
I know. I was sound asleep and I hit him twice right in the head. And so,
a lot of that could be psychic attack.
Well, it could be too, yeah.
Yeah, we could talk more about that later. But
yeah. So let's get Ju in on this conversation just for a second. Ju, what is your birthday? What is your zodiac sign?
Well, I'm Aquarian too. So
Aquarian?
I'm February 13th.
Oh, wow, the day after me.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
And my rising is Scorpio, so that's where my emotions are, but really, really hidden, like deep down. So I have to dig them out, because and then in Aquarian, as you know, we're like up here, we're floating, we're detached from everything.
Yeah, we are not water. We're not like, we're the water bearers. We're not water, and we're not air. We're ether. We're etheric. And the only ones that
we are in the age of ether, right? I mean, this is the age of Aquarian, the ether age, right?
Yes,
so,
exactly.
So
yeah,
my moon is Capricorn, so I'm stubborn.
Oh, my mother was Aquarius, Scorpio rise, and a Taurus moon. So, yeah, I feel I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. So I have nothing but Cancer and Virgo. That's it. Cancer, Sun, Virgo, Moon, Cancer, rising, Virgo, Venus.
Wow. Yeah, I have 3 planets in Virgo. And it just came to light recently that I'm in my Saturn return again right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You know? But I was talking to an astrologer.
I started last year. I'm a year older than you.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I told her, I'm like, well, can you just kind of, you know, give me a rundown what aspects I'm working with in this time around? And it was really good to hear, because I feel like that's stuff I've been working on this whole time. So you just pray that the lessons be gentle, you know, and mine started in May and my father died in June. And, you know, it's just, we do the work so that we can be more in tune as to what's coming, you know, because everybody is affected by this awakening.
Well, it's the rise of the divine feminine. And I've been noticing, I don't know if you guys notice, I don't know how well you know your charts, but when I work with my clients, I always ask them to run their chart, because I can't see it clearly yet, but there is a correlation between your Chiron and for the divine feminines, those who resonate as a divine feminine archetype. There seems to be a correlation between your Chiron and your Lilith. And I'm working on that because I've seen it in a pattern over and over and over again. And the other pattern is near-death experience. A lot of the women and men, because I have some masculine bodies that are feminine archetypes. And there seems to be patterns.
Of course.
And I haven't firmly made the connections yet, but I know it's there. I feel it.
Well,
I
can drop this in on that and see if it helps a little bit, because, you know, Chiron is the wounded healer.
Right.
Okay. And Lilith, you know, Lilith is, she's like a great teacher too. You know, she's really strong, and it's like she was the first, and she's been really pissed off a lot.
Right.
Okay. So if you look at like the Lilith energy, it's a lot like the Ishtar energy that I embodied in this lifetime. We all come back. You know, we're here to help the evolution of the archetypes.
Right.
And Lilith is in evolution. So when we know that those aspects of them we embody for our own personal growth. So, I mean, I know Ishtar really well. And in this lifetime, I embodied the archetype of Ishtar, as it, you know, many of us are embodying these particular archetypes at this time, because we are in Sophia's correction and in evolution. So, you know, having to look at my own relationships through the years, you know, I've been married twice, but single 25 years, you know, and I had a Kali statue on top of my TV that I never used. I never used the TV. I was like, I'd had cable since '94, and I'm looking around my house one day and I'm like, what is it with me and men? And it's like, my house always ends up looking really witchy. And, I look at the statue of Kali, and, you know, she's got that head in her hands, and, you know, it's just, and I'm like, oh, you, I'm like, I need to put you away for a little while.
Yeah.
You know?
So do you know where my divine, or my Lilith is at 29 degrees Aries on my midhaven, right next to my Chiron.
Well, you know, that means Aries, you know, all Aries women are from Mars too. That's all, you know, warrior Mars energy as well, you know. And what I learned about embodying the archetype of Ishtar, you know, I had to go and have a long talk with her. And when I went to see her, I don't like talking about this because I feel like in some way it could be like disrespecting her, but I'll share just the experience part of it. So I went and talked to Ishtar, and I'm like, you have to help me help you or I'm just going to have to take matters into my own hands here. You know what I mean? It's like, and I can't believe I'm like saying this to her. And she, without even saying much, it was like I just saw her, I watched her, and she looked sick. She was not well. And it's like, I knew that if I don't work on myself, that's going to be me.
Right.
You know?
Wow.
Right.
So it was really important for me to say, I have to do this and you have to let me. And either, you know, you're going to have to step out of the way. And that went on for a couple of years where I was really working on my own personal relationships. And then that's when I met my twin soul as well. Like that stuff started happening.
Which, by the way, I think I might contact to interview.
Oh, that would be interesting.
I don't know if he'll
talk about the divine feminine, but he won't, you know.
Right.
I mean, well, he'll touch on it, what he thinks, you know, where he's at with that. I'm not saying it, but I think all of the men in that kind of community, they're not bringing in the feminine the way that they should.
Right.
But aside from that, so what I found out in embodying the archetype of Ishtar and in her evolution, well, her evolution, Ishtar's evolution, is Venus.
Yep.
And so that just opened up so much energy to start coming through, because, you know, we associate Venus with the dove. You know, I'm wearing my little Venus necklace, you know, my little, you know, Venus here. And, you know, I remember being on Venus. All of us have had, being a multidimensional, you know, being and having this human experience, we've actually embodied, we have been on other planets is what I want to say. And we've rubbed up against all these different star systems on our way here. But when I started to study the Gnostic, the Nag Hammadi text based on John Lamb Lash's work, it started to really put the goddess Sophia, who is our mother, the actual planet itself, it went right along when I had mentioned that work of Barbara Handclough in the 9 Dimensions. It just totally put all of those little pieces into the puzzle together. So realizing that the evolution of Ishtar is Venus, it is like right now it's very important for us to be working in the correction of Sophia. We are deep in the correction of Sophia. And what that means is, because I was like, what the hell, how do we really know? How do we really know when we're in Sophia's correction, which we have been for years now. I used to be able to map it out to the year of when all this started, but it has left me like exact times, because we don't have time to, you know, dwell on much of anything other than the beauty and the bliss that's being created right now. So we know that we are in Sophia's correction because the psychopaths are being called out.
Yep.
And, you know, I've been awake for a long time, Tracie, you know this thing. And, you know, you go through all these different stages of being, you know, awake. And I don't mean woke, I mean awake.
Right.
And it took me a long time in this lifetime to get to where I stood in my own power, to be authentic. Right now, my legs are tingling. And it took me a while to really stand in my own power. You know, I think I came into this lifetime, you know, to remember, you know, I was carrying a lot of those cellular memories. All of us do. We all carry those cellular memories. And that's why it's important to take care of yourself so that you can learn from the encoded messages that reside within you all the time. Right. You know, so where was I going to go with this? So the evolution of Ishtar being Venus has taken me onto a whole other path, and it's so beautiful because the universe just brings it. And now I hang out with the Venusians every year in Mount Shasta, and I'm going back in June. And Tracie, you should go with me, because that's what I'm asking. I'm asking people to go. It's at the end of June. And Omnek Onek, the woman from Venus, will be there again this year. And it's like when we start to, you know, just be conscious of who we are and what our spiritual mission and plan is, these people just come. my whole life I've been able to talk about, you know, woo-woo stuff that a lot of other people don't, you know, they're not interested in, or they're not, you know, they've not been open to it. When somebody says that they don't believe in something, it means they don't know anything about it.
Right.
So belief itself is an education, you know. It's like,
And
I don't like tarot cards. I don't believe in that. Like, you hear that all the time. I don't believe in tarot cards. Well, it just means you don't know anything about it, and that they've demonized all these things to keep you from awakening to your own, you know, your own true self. You know, it's like the tarot, for one, you know, it's like, you know, your higher self communicates to you through symbols. So when Tracie, anybody's doing a reading, it's the higher self and your higher self having a conversation. So we're having that conversation, and that those conversations, when you're giving readings to somebody, can start weeks, months, even years before you even come together, you know.
Right.
And that's like when we pray and we ask for our people to show up, you know.
Right.
It's like it's your higher self and their higher self having a conversation.
Well, I think I resisted my awakening because of my Christian upbringing. And so my awakening happened, my really major one. It was like I got on a roller coaster ride and couldn't get off of it. I mean, it was like Spirit said, enough bullshit, you know, you're running late. Let's get you where you're supposed to be. And like everything everything fell away.
I remember when you first came in to see me, and you would come back, you know, at the Silver Branch, and Tracie walks right up to the case, and I'm showing her jewelry and talking about rocks, and she's telling me about her experience. And I think I said to you what I say to a lot of people. I'm like, but does it serve you to be afraid?
Right.
And we're, you know, does it serve me to be afraid? When we're afraid of anything, that's what's going to manifest first. That,
exactly.
You know, you're going to manifest what you fear first.
Because you believe it. See, the key to manifestation is faith. Like, you can visualize it, you can speak it all day long, you can write journals, you can post it on your mirror, but if you don't believe it can happen, it's not coming in, you know. It's like but when you fear something, you've got a very deep-rooted belief system around that fear, and so, you know, it comes in easy. It's like, oh, well, okay, you know, you've got faith in it.
Jude probably like resonates with this. Being an Aquarius, you know, we're so aloof, you know, and we feel like we know everything, you know. And it's like the older I get, the more I think I know, the more I know that I know nothing. But which is, you know, a very Zen way of thinking of things like that, though. But it's like, you know, I've learned, just ask for it, pray for it, you know, and make it really, really simple. You know, like if I need, you know, I need some prosperity brought in, I'll go, Lakshmi Devi, Lakshmi Devi, Lakshmi Devi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, help me, help me, help me. Please, please, please. Lakshmi Devi, Lakshmi Devi, Lakshmi Devi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, and then you forget about it.
Right.
You know, it's like we're really masters at being able to let it go. You know,
Right.
It's like you ask, and if you start to doubt that what you're asking for is going to show itself, then you have to start all over again.
Right. Yeah, and being a Cancer, I fall in love with potential. I don't ever, you know, so it's hard for me to get my little crabby hands off of that fear, off of that, well, what if this happens, or what if that happens, or what, you know. The last 4 years, I'm kind of in a place now, though, where I set it and forget it. I'm like, you know what? I had a really hard channeling that kept coming through over and over and over again. Every time I would sit down and do automatic writing, my higher self kept saying, get in the damn boat. Just get in the boat, tuck in your arms and legs. We promise you will always go exactly where you're meant to be. And then from that, you get free will. You can choose to accept or you can choose to deny, but let us get you there. And so for me, it's been probably, I would say, like maybe only 7 months, where I just, whenever a fear comes in, I immediately release it and I say, I'm in the boat. I'm in the boat. Whatever's meant to be will be. And as things come in, negative or positive, instead of attaching to one or the other, I just get back to it is. It just is. That's it.
That's
It's
beautiful.
not negative. It's not positive. It just is. And so, you know, it doesn't matter if I get angry. It doesn't matter if I get triggered. It doesn't matter if I'm afraid, because those emotions are just a perception. And that's all it is. You know, when you get back to that 0 point energy, it just is. Acceptance is, or has been at least, very cathartic for me in the last 7 months. I've learned to just let it be, man. Stop worrying about tomorrow. Stop worrying about next month. If it's, you know, worry about it when it's here. Don't
The
worry about it
secret
now.
is and that's the secret is to be in the now.
Right?
Because
It
you know
is.
that
What
everything is
right
happening now. You know, there's no past lives, or yeah, everything is happening right now. And when you can really meditate and tap into that, it's very helpful. You know, and I wanted to say, because it came up right when you were talking in the beginning, and I wanted to say, you know, no guilt, no shame, no pity, no blame.
Right.
You know, it's like, it's not, your divine God-given right is only to experience joy, bliss, and ecstaticism. Guilt, shame, they're all tools to enslave people.
Right.
And it's like, your mind is a very, very dangerous place to be. You are not your body, and you are not your mind. You are a spirit soul, and your soul chose to be embodied through you at this time to have these particular experiences. And the more that we can allow a soul, any soul, to have its experience,
Exactly.
it's a doorway, because this is something that I've been talking a lot about lately, is to meditate on non-duality. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. It is, and it is the experience. And the more that we can, you know, be in a place of non-judgment, non-duality, it's all about perception, and it's about shifting that perception, you know, to a place of, it's only bliss. It's got to be only bliss, or I can't be engaged in that.
Right.
And the more that we do that, the more that we're, you know, everybody's like, you know, they talk about 5D like it's a destination. Well, it is, but it's right here, you know, it's right here. It's not that it's not about the ascension into those things. I got all these things on ascension too, but we can talk about it some other time. But there's, you know, when you're in your heart place, that's 5D. That's the Pleiadians are the keepers of the 5th dimension, which is the pink place. It's the heart place. And once you leave 3D, which is us, you know, and 4D, which is collective consciousness, once you leave 4D, there is no more duality. This experience, and one of the reasons why we came here to awaken to who we truly are, was to experience the dualistic nature of all of this.
Right.
And it's like, you know, if we can move away from that good, bad energy, it opens your perception to nothing but beauty. We can witness something that a lot of people would, oh, that's tragic. It's like, I can see beauty in that experience. You see an alligator eat something. It's like, well, that alligator, that's what they do, you know?
So,
and it's like, you know, and you know, you can't kill energy.
right.
You know, you can't kill a soul. You can sell a soul, but the doorway to reformation is never closed on any human soul here or hereafter. You know, and embracing the fact that we are a spirit soul is so important right now, when there is so much to distract us and to, you know, for willing to get you to sell yourself, you know, and it's like, it's so easy to do it. And it's like, I'm not about repenting. I'm about, you know, respecting your own soul,
Right.
you know, and in doing that, there's a healing. And that's really what we're here to do.
Being the mother of a addict, when I first found out, I mean, I fell into that trap that all 3D, you know, it's like, oh my God, I got to fix him. I got to fix him. I've got to get him clean. I got to do this. I got to do that. And thank God that I'm an oracle, because when I asked for guidance, what I received was, this is his experience. He chose this experience. You weren't there when he took it the first time. It was a chosen experience. And why don't you sit back and see with curiosity how it evolves him and what he does with it. And so I didn't know if I was going to, get the call someday that he was dead on the side of the street somewhere, or if he was, but I kind of got a download that it wasn't my experience to control, it was his. And so he came here, incarnated here, to have these experiences. And who am I to tell him what is right or wrong? I mean, his soul needed that for evolution. And so I didn't know where it would go, but man, he's been clean now for 7 months. He's expecting. I'm going to be a grandma. He's taking classes to become a peer counselor. And so from his brokenness, he's becoming a healer for others. And, I didn't know, it could have went very differently, but it kind of cinches up that concept you were talking about, being in that 0 point energy where, you just have to allow people to have the experiences that their souls chose to have. And just, it's not ours to create for them at all. We just need to create for ourselves. And in that creation, be the role model, or be,
yeah, we're mamas, we're here to
Right.
drop the wisdom. We all got a lot of wisdom to drop, and then, when we learn how to hold space for people and saying that I'm going to hold space for your healing, I'm holding space for you at this time right now, so that, we're holding space and love for somebody. And it's one of the most powerful things that we can do for somebody. We're not there to fix it. Right. We're not there to fix it. And being a mama and praying for somebody's highest good might mean that they almost lose their life. Right. It's praying for their highest good. It could be something that soul needs to take them to a place where, they're either going to heal it or lose it. Right. And that's tough love. I remember, talking to people about addicts in their life, and it's well, you got to tell them, if they don't quit doing drugs, they're going to die. Right. Because that's a very real, especially now. Right. Especially now. And so that's really beautiful that your son is going to be able to help people, because my mother, being a CCD-C3, she was a chemical dependency counselor and a psych nurse. If she helped one person to stop drinking, it affects generations of a family. Exactly. It does. And it's like a beautiful thing. So I know that my mother was helping to save lives, and I'm hoping in some way, by putting, tools in people's hands, that I'm helping them to be more in their body and more in their space, to ask for what it is that they'd like to manifest. What are they praying for? We have every tool available to us that we need, being here on this really beautiful planet, and being courageous enough to say, no, I'm not going to participate in that. Right. Right. And it's even if somebody wants to come and take your energy, your emotions for a while, we got somebody freaking out, it's you can just smile, but it's I'm not going to go there with you. Exactly. Is right. Somebody asking you to do something
you don't want to have, and yes to the ones you do. Maintaining your own energetic garden is what I call it. Good gardening skills.
And it's not about being selfish, because people are oh, I don't want to be selfish. I'm but if somebody came up to you and said, I'm going to take 5-10 minutes off of your life, are you going to want somebody to do that? But with these energy vampires, they're doing the same thing, and you're consenting to that, to have your life taken. And that's one of the things that we really need to raise the frequency and the vibration of, is people saying, no, we are sovereign beings, and that's very important. We've been fighting a long time and coming back lifetime after lifetime, after persecution after persecution. This planet is a war planet. all of those stories, the witches burning and hanging, you know, that was us. That was me. That was you. You know, it's like we've done it. We've been stoned. We've been hanged. We've been burned. You know, and
Drowned.
it's like throughout.
I was drowned.
Oh, drowned, yeah, too. I was thrown into an underground prison, you know, and came out catatonic. And when somebody, you know, took my life, it was like the greatest thing. Every time I've seen myself die in a regression, it was, you know, joke's on you, buddy. I'm free, you know, and it's like, and I'm free to do what I want to do. And a lot of people at this point in time have been working their spiritual path for lifetimes, you know, we're like, well, we don't want to keep coming back to this existence. There's got to be something better. And I think that I'm very optimistic, despite, you know, being able to see a lot of what's been going on, what always has been here, that other people are going to have a hard time being able to, you know, to totally accept that. And that, you know, it's what it was, it's what it is. And the writing's been on the wall for a long time, but we're here to anchor the light codes, and we're here to create a new humanity, a new earth humanity. And it's like to shatter the old paradigms and to heal what these, you know, these thoughts and these things have done.
That's what Spirit showed me in the vision, that, I mean, because they've been pushing me to start this podcast for like 2 years, and I resisted big time, because I'm like, you know, if you've ever noticed on my YouTube channel, I'm not usually on face, it's my hands, you know, I don't like to be on the camera. But they kept pushing and pushing, and they kept showing me the globe with these little light dots all over it, and there were broken pieces, like there were some that were connected, and then there were spots on the planet where it was dark. I mean, it wasn't dark, the light workers are there, they're just not connecting. And because they're not connecting, the grid is not steady, I guess is what I want to say.
There's two grids that can be worked on. And it was like when I discovered this through the work with Barbara Handclough, and even with my friend Christina, you know, back in you know, 2005, 2006, we were working on the new consciousness grid that had been birthed. And it's the fourth dimension is what has been used through the elite, the archons, whatever you want to call them. I mean, religion, you know, anything that is not for the good of humanity, they've been able to use this consciousness grid, the fourth dimension, to fill it with fear. And then that blocks, if you're afraid, you're not going to be able to receive a higher dimensional frequency, a higher dimensional message. So if you're operating in the fourth dimension of collective consciousness, it's a very scary place to be. Oh, yeah. And we've already birthed a new consciousness grid, and a lot of the new kids and things like that were coming through back in the early 2000s. They were the ones that were really, you know, soaring around on this grid, and it's still there. It's just we've had this insurgence of fear and lies. Right. It's lies. It's deception, and it's lies. And the what we can do to help humanity is get fascinated by wisdom and by truth that, you know, you have to dig for. Doing any kind of work like this, you're walking into a mystery school. You know, exactly. They have kept this stuff from us. And, you know, why do I, you know, even contemplate flat Earth, which is fun. It's fun. It's entertaining. And why do I contemplate that? Is because they've lied about everything. They've never told us who we are, where we came from.
I believe that we're creators, and what we believe we create, whether it's true for anybody else or not. So flat Earth could be truth for you, and you'll find millions of videos and documents, and you'll validate it, right? And for me, if I said, you know, Earth was square, I would find lots of validation and ways to prove that. So I think that what we need to remember is that as individual creators, we create our own experience, but as co-creators, we have to kind of choose the experience we want to have, and then surround ourselves with like-minded people. And, you know, I'm hoping, the way I'm hoping it is that we create love. If we could just create love and not fear, because I don't think the opposite of love is hate. I think the opposite of love is fear. If we could just get people beyond fear, I mean, I would feel like my mission work here is pretty damn done.
Well,
You know,
I have an interesting take on that. Oh, Julia's going to say something. Go ahead.
So if you think we don't have to create love, we have to allow it, you know,
exactly.
because love is here. Love is, you know, it's basically, we are created from love. So we are all love, but through, you know, with all this fear and hate, it's been kind of like, you know, covered, or, you know, it's been suppressed in us, right? So and the heart chakra has been closed, and we need to work on our heart chakra to open it
Right.
up, and then the love just gonna, you know, flood out.
Right.
It's beautiful. And I mean, you know, we're mothers, you know, and we're making the choices for the next 7 generations, those that are awake and those that are spiritual, those that are care. And, you know, it wasn't love that got us into the mess that is happening on this world. Okay. And it's not love by the troubadour love versions that everybody's had shoved in their head, thinking that the only way that you can experience love is through somebody else. No.
Right. No.
It's like, you know, when you first meet your baby, you know, and how you love that baby, it does not come from that baby. That comes from inside of you.
Yeah.
And we innately are beings of love. We're innately capable of even experiencing these other dimensions. And if we're in alignment with our soul's highest evolutionary growth, if my highest evolutionary growth at the time is to go and save somebody and not and be a warrior, and to do that, it's like, we, especially as mamas and being, you know, connected to Pachamama, you know, we're nurturers, but that means we give what is needed, and it's by you know, whatever means necessary too. And I've been waiting a long time for people to realize that, you know, we've got work to do. And it's like, it's in this country, you know, it might mean that we all walk out the front door and meet in the same place. And it's going to take that, you know, and holding a space of love in that it's not an easy thing to do. So it's like, that's why the work now is so important. And to, you know, be in alignment with that is the greatest gift that we can give humanity right now.
Well, and the connecting, you know, I want to say this in every single podcast, because it's the whole purpose for the creation of it, as far as I'm concerned, is when I had my dark night of the soul, when I had my coming to God moment, or whatever you want to call it, everything rushed in on me, unexpected, unannounced, unasked for, past life recall, the drop of the matrix just completely melted away, and I felt like an astronaut that had gone outside of my vessel to do some repair, and somebody just cut the cord, and I was free floating. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know why I was here. I didn't know what's the purpose. I felt depression. I felt like, you know, why even be here? Like, why? You know, it's so broken. It's such a mess. How can we fix it? I just felt really overwhelmed. And so the biggest thing for me was I felt alone. And when I got with like-minded people, it was so beautiful, because I no longer felt alone. They understood where I was at. They understood the awakening I was going through. They understood. And so I want this podcast to be a way for people to connect with others, because a lot of people are just, a lot of light workers, a lot of people with purpose are just now awakening to that, and they're lost. They're like, I don't know how to get my foot in where I'm supposed to be. Now, we're always divinely guided, but I'm hoping this podcast becomes part of that guidance system, where people can just, maybe they just get interested in the picture, the thumbnail, or they just get interested in the title or whatever, you know, but let the algorithms or whatever drive them to it. And I'm just hoping they find their tribe. They find people, because we're going to build this directory where, you know, you and anybody that wants to be a part of it, even if they don't have a soul calling or mission, because some of us are just here to be the light, just be the light, right? In the grocery store, in the hairdressing salon, in the bar rooms, in the, you know, just be the light. And so I just really think, for whatever reason, that I wish I had access. I'm sure it was out there. I'm sure there are other light workers that have created connections, you know, but for me, I felt alone. And it was so funny. Spirit kept channeling to me. I would see it on billboards. I would see it on postcards and on bumper stickers. You are not alone. You are not alone. And Michael Jackson's song, You Are Not Alone, was piped to me through, I could be getting gas at a gas station, and that song would come through the gas station speakers. And I was like, it followed me everywhere. And that was when I started.
That's the beauty of spirit.
Right.
You know, and because if we ask for it, we have to start seeing it. I mean, I remember when I was, you know, studying to become a minister, and I'm like, show me, show me, show me, give me a sign. I would literally run into signs, you know, or trip over some rock that had some message on it or something, you know, and you know, my mother was always a real gift in that. So it's like, when you ask, just pay attention. And, you know, depression is a real thing, and start to light yourself up with the knowledge that, you know, you're not alone, and we are loved beyond measure. And when we realize that, you know, the more comfortable we start to become in allowing ourselves to experience new experiences, and the more we ask for these people to come into our lives, you know, the more that they're going to start showing up. And I want to say that people that are in dysfunctional relationships are hanging on to a belief that somebody is going to change, or that, you know, you can't do something until, you know, this person comes around.
Yeah.
You remember that, like, you know, that one picture of that old lady that's like a skeleton waiting for Mr. Right to come along, you know?
Right. Well, and the one thing that I've learned is, and the funny thing is it's so simple, and yet it's so difficult. Sometimes we have, I mean, not sometimes, we always have to create space. If we don't have any space in our energetic field for our tribe or the people that are meant to be there, if we've surrounded ourselves with energy vampires or people of various degrees of codependency, then,
or mental illness even.
Exactly. So you have to weed your garden. You got to create space. You can't buy a new car if your garage is full, and you can't plant new plants if your garden's full. You have to really look at what makes me happy. You know, what I guess is in alignment with the life that I'm trying to create. And anything that isn't, you have to, no matter how painful, how sorrowful it is. I mean, I had to let go of a lot of things. I literally, I think, let go of almost everything. And then that was when I started meeting my soul tribe. When, you know, now I have people in my life that, if I was homeless and destitute, I could go anywhere. I know I could go to Jews. Jew could come here. I have connections all over the world, and these people truly love me, truly resonate with who I am and what I'm creating. And so, you know, you can't have that if your fists are full of things that you don't need.
Or if you're not leaving the house, you know. I mean, it's like you have to get out. You have to, like, work the energy and look for it. And, you know, people that are struggling with trying to find people in their tribe, you know, look up metaphysical stores, you know, look up, you know, expos that are going on in your, you know, holistic things, you know, find a spiritualist church, you know, but vet these things too. You know, there's a lot of misinformation, you know, being, you know, mixed with, truth. And, you have to use your own discernment, and, you have to, stand in your own power. And this is my space. We don't let people into our space. We have to invite them into our space. And, when the more that we can be, conscious of, what, that your soul is on a mission. And the more that we ask for it, you're going to get one book in your hand, one oracle deck in your hand that's going to lead you into something else. Just, keep asking for it and allow it to come, and be ready for it and choose it. It's like, I'll do this as long as it's in alignment with my bliss. And for me, having all my relationships be karmic. I mean, Tracie and I, we're karmic, we're sisters. We got past life together, very much so. And Ju, if I get to know you, I'll remember you too. I feel like I do. I remember you too. And, it's like we keep coming back to do the work. And once, we're in that alignment, and the alignment is the higher self to the heart. This is the longest human journey from your mind to your heart. And that's where you experience unity consciousness, is in 5D. So, go to some expos, do some podcasts online, start subscribing to, newsletters, and just open yourself up to new ways of thinking. And instead of, searching for the message that you want to hear, start going inside and saying, what does my soul have to say to me? What's my higher self?
When the student is ready, the teacher appears, not when
it's you.
Right.
You as in you.
Right. You're higher you. Right.
Exactly.
By the way, it can show up in many different bodies.
What was that, Ju?
Well, the thing is, when people say like, oh, the teachers arrive, right? And they look externally again. No, you are your teacher, and you will rise up to that role of your own teacher. So I always say, if there's someone out there who's calling himself the guru or the leader, this is external. No,
it's separation.
It's separation, right? I don't know. It doesn't sit with me well if someone turns up and say, "Oh, this is my guru," and it's like, and what makes him your guru? Because you are your own guru, and we have mentors, absolutely. We have guides, absolutely. But there's no guru outside of you.
No,
and if someone's insisting on that is wrong.
When you're at a window looking
you
out
on the wrong path again, being separated from source again.
Right. And that's like, you make a very good point too. It's like you have to vet these people. It's like getting into a sweat lodge is a perfect example of, going into a sacred space. Well, what energies are in that space with you? You got to know what you're doing, and I've been in metaphysics and all this for so many years and lifetimes. And, metaphysics has a lot of what do I want to say? How do I want to say this? It's like there's different ways of looking at the journey of the self. Are you on a soul mission to experience the higher self, or are you there to just do what thou wilt? Which you had a whole planet of people like doing whatever the hell they want, then they're not taking responsibility for that. And the fact that, we're women, we're mothers, we have wombs, and, we're in a very powerful time to heal the womb and the womb of the earth. What's happening outside in the external is coming to the surface because it needs our help. It needs our love. It needs to be cleansed, and it needs to stop. And that the time to do that is right now. We don't have any more time. It's like, it's about your children, and I'll tell you what, like, men are very conflicted, and the divine masculine and divine feminine resides in both of us. And it's like we've embodied both. I think that, I primarily have incarnated as a woman, but I've been a man too. But I've had past lives as men, but we have to balance the divine masculine and divine feminine within us. And, you know, there's a lot of ego out there, a lot of ego. A lot of these spiritual men are stuck in their ego. And it's something that, you know, we have to be the nurturers, but we got to call shit out. You know, you got to call it out when you see it. And it's like that's not going to work for the high. It's not in alignment with the soul's high evolutionary growth of all, you know, especially when people are being hurt.
Right.
You know.
Well, we're going to have to wrap this up. So, Ju, is there anything that you would like to say to Shari or ask her about? We'll give it like another, I think in Skype we can go for a while, but I was trying to keep the podcast down to at least like an hour and a half at the most.
So, you've been on this journey for a very long time. You awakened a long time ago. What was for you the hardest part to come to where you are now? Because I just awakened 2019, so my journey's been very short. And yeah, you've been for 35 years from what I hear, right? So what was the hardest part for you so far?
Relationships and how I behave in relationships. And then, you know, it's a progression. I mean, losing my mother was like the biggest wake up call for me. I had to look at, like, you know, how selfish I was being, you know, certain aspects of myself that I find to have been not in alignment with what would be the best for me, or, you know, the people that I love and were closest to. And, you know, my codependency was a big thing. And I started working on that when I was a lot younger because of my mother, you know. And Codependent No More, it's a book and people could get it and they still read it today. It's still valid, you know. So there, you know, the codependency was a big thing. And staying healthy, you know, I mean, you know, drinking and things of that nature, you know, your body shifts, and especially when you start asking for change, you know, you got to pay attention to those things. And, you know, I knew I died of a drug overdose in '67, so I wasn't really coming back here to do a lot of drugs. I had friends that were, and I just didn't really get into like harder drugs and things of that nature. I never wanted to drink hard alcohol. And, you know, my relationships were the biggest thing, and about, you know, taking care of myself in those relationships. And then there's a lot of angels that came into my life to show me who I was. And, you know, we might not have liked it at the time, but it's like these angels come in and they'll show you yourself. And then when you see yourself and, you know, what do I need to change? And how can I forgive myself? How can I even unravel these contracts and agreements that have been made throughout all of my lineage? And when I started to work with the Light Body Academy, which is my friend Christina, it was some of the most powerful work I could have done. And I did 7 months of intensive spiritually accelerated clearing work. And that was a big deal. And I'll tell you what,
invite her too. I don't know if she'll accept.
Oh yeah, she would love to, I'm sure. So just check out the Light Body Academy on YouTube. I want to say that she does a lunchtime chat every Thursday. Some of it is going to go right over your head, but like, you keep coming and you'll start to get it. But I know that if I wasn't going to do the work, I wouldn't have the relationships that I deserved. You know, I kept getting into relationships with men that were not available, you know, so
or
it's
abusive.
Like, and now I'm engaged to Dino, and he's my first non-karmic relationship. And it's about him and I having fun together, enjoying the time that we have together, creating and building things. He's very spiritual, but he was not, he wasn't into like the woo-woo stuff, you know, and he absolutely adores it. And, you know, he's available for me and I'm available for him. And it's been a really beautiful thing to experience. And I want to tell people, you know, your perfect person, your person is not necessarily going to look like you think he should. You can send things out into the universe. I mean, man, I was good at, like, you know, manifesting men. I could do it, you know, like that. They'd come around, but they, you know, I wasn't clear enough. The
Right?
younger I was.
You gotta
And
be
now,
clear.
you know, I wanted somebody that was available. Also, you know, my lover, my friend, all of those things. And I put it out there, and, you know, I met Dino a week later, and we've been together. It'll be 4 years in July. And
I did the same thing. And in July too, because our first date was July 3rd. So it's funny how that happened.
We met July 13th, which was my son's birthday, but, you know, put it out there and then pay attention. Like, if I would not have walked back into the halcyon that night, I might not have met him. You know, it's like, you got to listen. You know, you ask and you listen and you get out of the way. And, you know, Dina, what I was saying about, you know, men don't always look like what you think they should look like. Your perfect person. They could have one arm, one leg. You know, Dino is quite a bit shorter than me. And it's cute because my mom was only 5 foot. Everybody on my mother's side of the family, you know, we're Rogers, and they're all real short. And so Dino comes from, you know, Italy. His family does, and Naples, Italy, and they make them a little shorter there, you know. Yeah. So it's you know, you got to have fun with it, you know, and you just, you know, let spirit, you know, assist you and enjoy it. It's like bliss or bust.
Right.
I told Dino, I will do this with you as long as it's in alignment with my bliss, you know.
Absolutely.
So it's good stuff.
Well, Shari, I would like you to let our audience know how they can contact you if they would like to talk to you more, or, you know, what services do you still provide or offer to people, if any? I know you're opening your new store. You could give that plug in.
I'm really excited. And anybody that's in, like, Northeastern Ohio, you know, I want to invite you to the Light Emporium. It'll be opening, and, you know, Tracie will be a regular there. And we're going to be doing psychic fairs the last Saturday of every month, which I'm pretty excited. But I have connections all over the United States, and I'm going to be pulling as many people here as I can. And I wanted to mention, well, first I'll say I do have a website, and it's for the Pleiadian cosmic healing discs that I make that are really amazing.
I'm very
and they're really beautiful tools. I'll get one to you, Ju. You got to have one. And you know, it's like trusting that you can create whatever you want. Make your own job. Make whatever you want, you know, and you don't have to conform to do it. Be yourself and create what you want. So I have right now there's a website, cosmichealingdiscs, and it's DISCS.com. And you can find me there. I do readings via Zoom, and you can set something up there. My phone number is all over on the website, and you can always contact me that way. I want to put this in there because it's you build it and they come. And for the eclipse, the totality solar eclipse that will be happening in May of 2024, where I live, we are in direct pathway of the totality of the solar eclipse. And I will be doing a large gathering here on the beach to witness the eclipse at that time. It passes directly over top of us. Yeah, so this is a big deal, and I'm putting it out there now. So I'll have more information on the eclipse and the gathering. I'm pretty sure it's going to be at a website, mysticsway.com. It'll be updated for that, because that's going to be a big deal. We got to do it. And at that time, I really want to do some type of ceremony for the divine masculine and divine feminine, you know, at that time. So the dark and the light coming together, and the beauty of the oneness of all that. So yeah, please get a hold of me if you'd like. And I'm happy to talk to anybody. got a lot of wisdom to share. So, I'm down for that.
Okay, well, when we get off of here, I'll have you text me those links and I'll put them underneath the video. So anybody that, is drawn to the video can find your information. I'll also put Jews in mind so that, if they resonate with anything that we do. And, the whole idea of this podcast is connecting. So you are not alone.
Exactly.
No, get out and meet your fellow goddesses and, create together. And,
right.
We got a lot of work to do.
Yes.
Beautiful.
All right. So I love you both.
Thank you. Love you.
And I would like to reserve the right to have you come back again and talk about other things because
I would love to. Thank you so much for having me.
I'd like to do a podcast on the Ascension.
Yeah, we can talk about a lot of stuff. Dark Night of the Soul too. And let's navigate, not to sit in it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Let's navigate out of it.
Right. All right, darlings. I will talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.